then the animal control take care of them? Chemist, animal control? Because I'm just thinking, we use that money right now to pay the part-time animal managers.
Yeah. What I'm anticipating in the budget is that there would be some number that is approaching a $10,000 figure a year, which is what we would pay to. The other answer is yes, we do have the cost from Southwest Washington Humane Society, what they would charge the city. What the budget assumes is that those costs for intake and maintaining the dogs on a daily basis, that type of stuff that we currently have in there, what's over and above the 25,000 would remain in there. So it's not just the 4,000, it's that $9,000-10,000 figure, whatever we estimated it at last year, that is actually in the animal control budget for the city this year for 2010, and it would be maintained in 2011 as well. The only figure that would change is that $25,000 figure would go down to a $4,000 figure, intended to get you through the end of February until some other efforts could get underway to replace that with some other fundraising of some sort. Hopefully that answers the question a little bit more. Ron?
In relationship to what they're doing down there, the city charges $10 a day for impounding a dog, is that correct? When they pick up the dog, they have to come down here and pay the city $10 a day for the impound?
Yes, and from the city, we get 5.
Why do they not get the 10? And I know that's all history, it's all been doing that forever that way, but why couldn't?
Actually, I think you get 10. It used to be we charged 5, we paid you 10.
Yes.
And we raised it to where we now collect 15, of which they get 10. We retain 5 to help pay back a portion of the maintenance costs and that type of stuff involved
On the building?
On the building that we own, that we lease the property from the port for.
Well, the thing I'm curious about is, could we turn over the licensing aspect of it? Would it take time away, off of somebody at the front desk? It can't be that much with it, but some of those kinds of things, if we turn it over to them, can we legally do that and let them run that process? In other words, if they need to charge something, if they need to change that structure of licensing, could they do that? Can they charge a different daily rate that comes in?
Well, currently they charge it to us, so we would just be paying more. And currently the licensing, RJ, do you remember last year? I want to say it was $3,500 or $4,500 a year.
I'd have to go back and look, but it's on the low end, probably more like $3,000 a year. And then we license dogs on an annual basis, or the lifetime fees on a dog, so we don't do it annual for dogs either.
I'm just curious, if we turn it over to them and, things changed, at least it's some other avenue that they can take away from what we do here and give it to them, and it may be a different income or, resource for them.
We could certainly look at other alternatives. In the end, one just comes away or takes away or adds to the bottom line of the general fund, no matter how you look at it, so it still has an effect.
We just heard how we're not charging enough for sewer, but basically what's going on now is they get $25,000, which they are paying people to take care of the dogs, so they're not capturing their full costs in their daily rate. The $25,000 is covering their costs. So if their rates were to actually recover their costs, then there wouldn't be a line item that looked like a $25,000 item. On the other hand, it could at least conceivably be revenue neutral for both the city and the West Columbia Gorge.
Wasn't that number close to $800?
Which one?
Well, you're talking about the actual cost per dog. Last year, didn't we discuss that number as being close to, averaging out to about $800 per dog, depending on how many dogs we take in?
Yeah, it depends on how you put it in there. I think we're online this year to impound, if numbers stay where they are, around 175 dogs. So it all depends on where you draw the line and where you devise the number from.
And is
There's-
the 100,
You also have the other effect of, would my wife go down and bail our doggies out every time? You bet, with some families. So you not only not get the benefit of those dollars because it's now raised up to that amount, but now you also have the care and feeding of the animal itself over the top of that.
and the 175 is that Washougal dogs, because we bill Camus for the Camus dogs.
I believe that was Washougal dogs.
So the Camus dogs would be, just off the top of my head, having seen the bills come through, roughly the same number.
They're
It's pretty
proportionate,
close.
yeah. Yeah, when we ran the numbers last year, it was all based on what the city of Washougal would experience, not necessarily what Camus would experience.
But again, since Camus isn't contributing,
To the 25,000 they do to the other number.
if their rates actually captured their costs, then Camus would be contributing, which they aren't doing now. Or, to coin a phrase, paying their fair share.
Well, it depends on how you slice the number. On the other side, it would be difficult from an administrative standpoint if we get to the point where we're talking about, call it the week's impound and feeding and caring of the animal. If it gets to $75 for that portion that we're responsible for, yet Southwest Washington charges $54, I would have a hard time coming to you saying we should pay an additional premium over the top of that versus a facility that's 3 miles from the city limit of Camas, which is one of our partners in the program. We really don't have a lot more cost to take the animals there versus the additional cost per animal that we actually take in.
For us, we would have the additional cost of, what, an hour up and back for the animal control officer?
No, there's no additional
No.
cost, because we patrol out there anyway. They just need to be efficient when they actually transport the animals for transfer. And it's not done on a daily basis, or as the animals come in, we would still have them for a holding period.
I was thinking one other additional cost that we would have as a community of Camas and Washougal is, it's not a dollar figure, but it's more of a, I guess, a city morale thing, not knowing the fate of the animals. So, but you can't really put a dollar figure on that.
Other comments from the general public? Yes,
My name is Patty Bushlack. I don't know, can you give my address?
please.
32810 Southeast Eagle Woods Drive, Washougal. And I'm also here to speak in support of the Humane Society. I think our city is a very special place, and part of what makes that special is our commitment to a no-kill shelter, which makes a big statement for the city of Washougal. So I'm also here to speak on behalf of that, and to make an effort in some way to find a way to support it. The cut in funding would be devastating. It's very hard, as we all know, in this hard economic time, to make up that kind of money. And then I also had one miscellaneous question about our rate study. What is the NPDES permit?
National Pollution Discharge Elimination System.
What does that mean?
That is handed down from Federal Environmental Protection Agency, EPA, through the Department of
So the people
Ecology.
that get this credit, or the entities that get this credit, are doing something to mitigate the cost?
They're in compliance with their own industrial stormwater